Now you can listen to Wine and Dine Radio while shopping at the grocery store or your neighborhood wine merchant. Wine and Dine Radio can be heard using your wireless internet on your cell phone. You're listening to iWineRadio. iWineRadio is a production of Food Tastes Better with Wine on the web at iWineRadio.com. Hey guys, I thank you for listening to iWineRadio, and we are still the only wine channel on iTunes Radio. If you go look under iTunes Radio icon and scroll down to News and Talk Directory, and it's listed alphabetically, click on that and the stream comes up immediately. iWineRadio.com, where you can find links to individual guests. And if anyone's interested in advertising or becoming an underwriter or sponsor, please contact us at iWineRadio.com. We really, really appreciate your support. The more support we get, the more conversations I can have with fascinating people around the world, including you. If you have a story to tell that you'd like to share on iWineRadio, go to iWineRadio.com and contact us, and we'll go from there.
Hi, this is Jim Laughren, certified wine educator from wonderful wine country in the great Pacific Northwest, and the author of A Beer Drinker's Guide to Knowing and Enjoying Fine Wine.
Welcome to Wine and Dine Radio. I'm Lynn Creelo-Chamberlain.
Hi there, this is Andreas Larsson.
Hi, this is John Capon.
My name is Madhur Jaffrey.
Hi, my name is Heike Platter. I'm from the Alto Adige region, or Südtirol.
Hi, my name is Paul Dolan. I am absolutely passionate about growing organic and biodynamic fruit for our wines.
Hello, my name is Lorena Garcia.
Hello, my name is Fritz Maytag.
This is Joyce Locke. I'm the author of Foodie Fight.
Hi, this is Lydia Mondavi, founder of 29 Cosmetics.
Cheers, this is Rob Barnett, CEO and founder of ThinVillage.com, where wine lovers connect.
You know, the weather's getting warm and people are drinking a lot more beer. And when I saw this press release, I just had to meet the man behind A Beer Drinker's Guide to Knowing and Enjoying Fine Wine by Jim Laughren, who is a certified wine educator with the Society of Wine Educators. A user-friendly guide to navigate the delicious world of wine. I want to quote or share a couple quotes with you. The first is from Shields Hood. I haven't seen him in so many years. Certified wine educator, past president of Society of Wine Educators. A must-read for everyone who wants to increase their knowledge of fine wine. Probably the best and certainly least snobby introduction to wine on the market today. And this, which I didn't know, this is fascinating. This is a quote on the introduction, page 1. Of course I drink wine. How could I not? Anyone who enjoys aromas and flavors must find enjoyment in both of the world's two great fermented drinks. You will never guess who that quote's from. The late, great Michael Jackson, international beer expert. Jim, how the heck did you learn that? Where did you get that quote? How fascinating.
Well, actually, Michael Jackson has been a person that I followed for many years prior to his demise. And he was based in the UK and considered not only one of the world's leading authorities on beer, but also one of the world's leading authorities on spirits and drink of all kinds. A real raconteur, and had a wonderful palate and a wonderful way of communicating with his readers.
How did you come up with, I mean, this is such a, it's almost a tongue-in-cheek approach, but there's a need for this. A Beer Drinker's Guide to Knowing and Enjoying Fine Wine. This is, what perfect timing, too, to be releasing this in May.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you, Lynn, I have met so many what I refer to as cross-drinking couples.
Yeah.
And essentially, and I'm sure you know them as well, you will often find that one partner in a relationship is a wine drinker and the other is a beer drinker. And it's often hard for the two to meet in the middle anywhere. So, stereotypically, the wine drinker is the lady of the couple. Women do prefer wine by 2-to-1 over beer. I mean, that's a proven fact, or a statistical fact. And men are just the opposite, preferring beer 2-to-1 over wine. So it was really an attempt to help these two come together and to give the ladies a break and see if I could kind of nudge their husbands and boyfriends into the wonderful world of wine, because it really is a marvelous place.
Okay, so in your household, is your wife or significant other the beer drinker? No,
actually, we're one of those rare harmonious households where we are both committed wine lovers. And while we both enjoy a nice beer occasionally, we certainly, each of us individually, have a long history of enjoying fine wine.
So tell listeners how you approach this subject. So you're approaching it from the beer drinker's perspective, right?
Well, beer drinkers are an evolving group of people, and I mean that because their product has changed so much in the last 20 years. You remember, maybe you don't remember, but I certainly remember in days gone by when beer in the United States was kind of uniformly a pale, boring, not particularly flavorful beverage.
Yeah.
And that was essentially all that was available. Then a group of individuals traveled the world, went to Europe, had wonderful, exciting, rare beers, and came back to this country and thought there's got to be a better way. And that really kicked off the craft beer or craft brew movement. And it has grown tremendously. In fact, craft beer is now the single fastest-growing segment of the beer market itself. So as this has happened, many beer drinkers have suddenly had their palates challenged and developed. And they're now used to tasting different flavors. They're used to assessing weight and balance and things that are also very key to tasting and enjoying wine. So a committed beer drinker really has a leg up over the general public in beginning his or her appreciation of fine wine.
I'm going to read, and I'm not going to get all the pronunciation correct, so when I'm done, you correct me here. On page 5, a different way of drinking, an introduction to wine, think. Lager, lambic, ale, pilsner, porter, stout, Bock bitter, red beer, white beer, ice beer, steam beer, abbey beer, brown ale, pale ale, mild ale, cream ale, old ale, Scotch ale, barley wine, Berliner Weiss, Bier de Garde, Double Bock, Triple Bock, Eisbock, Dortmunder, Framboise, Kriek, Kreidenbier, Marzen, Rauschbier, wheat beer. That to me is confusing. I think of, is it top fermented or bottom fermented? But, wine to me is so easy. It's like you go in the grocery store, you've got all 5, 6, 7 different varieties of apples. It's the same way with wine. But this all has to do with the production even more than the ingredients. Am I right or wrong?
Well, it has to do with the production, and it also has to do with the style, and it has to do, in some cases, with the water. Now, in that big selection of beers, all of which you pronounced marvelously well, you have both ale, which is a top ferment, and beer. So the thing that's interesting when you're looking at beer versus wine is to look at the similarities first.
Okay.
And they're both products of fermentation. So they have something in common just in the way they come into being. They're both agricultural products. One is derived of grains, the other is derived of grapes. They both have very long histories going back thousands of years. They have both been part of humankind's celebrations and religious ceremonies for an equally long period of time. The big difference really is that grapes only come into season once a year. So you get a single harvest, and they spoil quickly. You get a single harvest and a short window in which to make wine. Then, of course, you want to figure out a good way to store it, which is something that hasn't always been capable, people haven't always been capable of in history. Whereas beer is something that can be made from grains which are easily harvested and stored for months and months. And it only takes about 2 weeks to make a beer. So beer has been commonly available throughout the year. Now, certainly in some cases they would make beers in the spring and drink them in the summer and want them to last into the fall and that type of thing. But you're able to make beer on an ongoing basis, so it's always there. Whereas wine, again, is a function of a harvest. You make wine once, and you get no more chances until another year swings around.
Yeah.
So wine has always had a little added edge in terms of supply. There's always been a little less of it. It's been a little harder to get a hold of.
That makes sense. Makes sense. Now, you're talking to us from Portland, Oregon, but you used to live in Florida, as I understand it. In Oregon, there are a lot of microbrews, aren't there?
There are dozens and dozens of them.
Yeah.
Now, Oregon claims to be the craft brew capital of the United States.
Okay.
In terms of absolute numbers of breweries, and they're everywhere. I mean, you can't walk down the street in Oregon, in Portland at least, without kicking your way past two or three breweries. So it's really a locus of the craft brew movement. At the same time, interestingly enough, Oregon is the home to wonderful wines, and in fact is probably the region that produces the finest Pinot Noirs in the world outside of Burgundy.
And let me add also that I think that Oregon in this country does the best with Pinot Gris, and they have a Pinot Gris symposium that's coming up in a couple weeks.
You're absolutely right. Yep, you're absolutely right. The Pinot Gris here is lovely. The Chardonnays here are lovely. But they kind of stick more to the cool weather varietals. In that we're in a kind of a rainy, cool climate here.
Okay, we're almost out of time. I want to ask you, besides being president of WineHead Consulting, which you do on-premise consulting with staff and developing wine lists and that sort of thing, you're also a Spanish wine educator. So do you teach about Spanish wine, or do you teach in Spanish, or both?
Well, I tell you, I teach about Spanish wine. I do speak some Spanish, but it's rusty, and I would hardly call myself fluent.
Okay.
When I'm in Spain or in South America, I can communicate at least enough to order a great bottle of wine.
Okay, so here we have James Laughren, certified wine educator and author of Beer Drinker's Guide to Knowing and Enjoying Fine Wine, just released. And I would imagine if they, go on Amazon or whatever, they'll be able to pick up a copy.
Yes, Amazon or your great local independent bookstore, either one.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you so much, Lynn.
We will have links up for you to learn more, and we thank you for listening to Wine and Dine. Now you can listen to Wine and Dine Radio while shopping at the grocery store or your neighborhood wine merchant. Wine and Dine Radio can be heard using your wireless internet on your cell phone. You're listening to iWineRadio. iWineRadio is a production of Food Tastes Better with Wine, on the web at iWineRadio.com. Hey guys, I thank you for listening to iWine Radio, and we are still the only wine channel on iTunes Radio. If you go look under iTunes Radio icon and scroll down to News and Talk Directory, and it's listed alphabetically, click on that and the stream comes up immediately. iWineRadio.com, where you can find links to individual guests. And if anyone's interested in advertising or becoming an underwriter or sponsor, please contact us at iWineRadio.com. We really, really appreciate your support. The more support we get, the more conversations I can have with fascinating people around the world, including you. if you have a story to tell that you'd like to share on iWine Radio, go to iWineRadio.com and contact us, and we'll go from there.